Ever bought a set of tower speakers that looked amazing on the photo, only to discover they sounded like a cardboard box when you finally hooked them up? I've been there scrolling through glossy images, reading the hype, and then wrestling with a speaker that just doesn't fill the room the way you imagined. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's why I wanted to dive into the SVS Ultra Evolution 3-way tower speaker, because it promises the kind of full-bodied, immersive sound that most people end up chasing after a disappointing first purchase. Let's start with the context. Tower speakers sit at a crossroads between a sleek living room aesthetic and the desire for concert hall depth without breaking the bank. The market is crowded with units that either look great but lack power, or sound impressive but require a dedicated listening space that most apartments simply don't have. The Ultra Evolution tries to bridge that gap with a 4-woofer, 3-way design that claims deep, tight bass and crystal-clear highs. The real question is whether that translates into a day-to-day experience that justifies the price tag and the space it takes up. I set up a pair of these towers in a mid-sized living room roughly 18 by 20 feet, with a mix of hardwood flooring and a plush rug. I paired them with a 600-watt Class D amplifier, something you'll need to get the most out of the quad 5.25-inch woofers. The first thing I noticed was the sheer presence of the speakers. The piano gloss white finish is striking, but more than that, the cabinets feel solid, thanks to the FEA-optimized bracing that SVS talks about. In practical terms, that rigidity means there's less unwanted vibration, and the soundstage stays clean even when the bass hits hard. When I cranked up a classic rock track, the low end was surprisingly tight. Those 4 woofers, arranged in a force-balanced opposed array, delivered a bass punch that filled the room without the usual boom-boom muddiness you hear on cheaper towers. In a movie night scenario, the explosions in an action film felt visceral. You could feel the impact in the chest, but the rest of the orchestra stayed articulate. That's the first practical strength, the ability to handle dynamic, high-energy content while preserving detail across the spectrum. Now, here's where the Ultra Evolution shows its hidden trade-offs. Because the speakers are designed to be efficient, they rely on a high-sensitivity driver cone made from a composite glass fiber material. That translates to more output per watt, which is great if you have a decent amp, but if you try to drive them with an underpowered receiver, you'll quickly notice distortion, especially in the mids. I tested them with a budget 100-watt stereo receiver, and the treble started to thin out as soon as I pushed past moderate volumes. So the practical weakness is the need for a capable amplifier. Skimping here defeats the purpose of the speaker's engineering. Another real-world consideration is room acoustics. The Ultra Evolution's design includes acoustic insulation inside the cabinet to tame resonance, but it doesn't magically fix a badly treated space. In my test, the speakers performed best after I added a couple of strategically placed absorption panels on the sidewalls and a thick rug under the front feet. In a bare, reflective room you'll hear some harshness on bright digital tracks. This isn't a flaw in the speaker itself, but it's a reminder that high-performance towers demand a bit of acoustic awareness, something many casual buyers overlook. Who should actually click Add to Cart? If you're an audiophile who spends evenings listening to high-resolution streams, vinyl, or immersive home theater content, and you have a room that can accommodate a sizable speaker footprint, the Ultra Evolution is a compelling choice. It shines when you're looking for deep, controlled bass that doesn't dominate the mids, and when you want a clear, airy top end that can handle complex orchestration. The speaker also appeals to those who appreciate a visually striking piece. The white finish can become a centerpiece rather than an afterthought. On the other side, if your primary use case is background TV audio in a small apartment, or you're planning to place the speakers on a cramped bookshelf, you might want to reconsider. The footprint is about 13 inches wide and 42 inches tall, so you'll need a decent amount of floor space. And because the design is optimized for high performance, you'll get the most out of them only if you pair them with an amp that can deliver clean power above 200 watts per channel. For someone on a tight budget or with limited room, a smaller bookshelf model or a 2-way tower might give you a better price-to-experience ratio. Let's talk about value beyond the headline specs. The hyper-rigid diamond carbon coating on the aluminum dome tweeter isn't just marketing fluff. In practice it means the high frequencies stay detailed even when the bass is booming. I played a piano solo with a lot of sustain, and the top notes didn't get lost in the mix, they shimmered, yet remained grounded. That kind of tonal balance often requires expensive